Hi there, my name is Zulu, founder of Kurerie, and welcome to the first episode of the Kurerie podcast. We are an online publication that's focused on amplifying the voices of youth that are making change and impact in their communities. And today, on the first episode, we'll be having a guest that needs little introduction, but we'll introduce her anyway. Her name is Titilope Adedokun. Titi and I have been friends for a long time now, but I'm very excited for you to get to know her journey. She is a feminist advocate and she's a founder of sisterlyhq.com, which is a community that amplifies the voices of African women and connects them with tools and resources that helps them thrive in their chosen paths. She's also a pioneer LinkedIn top voice for Africa. And she's on a mission to help individuals and companies alike create sustainable change and put social impact at the forefront of their mission. So yeah, this was very interesting to record with Titilope. There were a lot of issues, but we got down to it and we were able to bring this episode to you. And she drops a lot of wisdom. She tells us about her journey, the things she's learned, the things she's unlearning, and of course what change means to her. I hope this inspires someone to create change in their community. If you have any feedback, please feel free to send us an email, kurerieonline@gmail.com. If you'd like to get involved with Kurerie, you could also send us an email. And check out kurerie.com online to see the short form of this interview and all the other articles that we have up on our website. Thank you. Enjoy the interview. Hi, Titi. Thank you for joining in today's episode. Welcome to the Kurerie podcast. I think I shared with you the idea for Kurerie before I started it. And it has evolved so many times and we're finally here, and I think we finally have like a clear path on what we want to do and what we want to achieve with Kurerie, the podcast and the website and the community and all of that. But I'm really glad that you're here today to speak to us about yourself and about Sisterly HQ, which is an amazing community of Nigerian women who are providing opportunities, writing articles, and telling the authentic stories of Nigerian women. So, yeah, first off, how are you? How's your day going?
Oh wow, thank you so much for having me on this podcast. I'm so excited to be here and I'm really rooting for you and really rooting for Kurerie. So yeah, my day has been pretty chill. It's a very slow Sunday, went to church, actually had online church in the morning, preparing to go back to school very soon, and yeah, that's
Nice.
typical Sunday for me.
Nice, very chill, very relaxing. So, first off, I would like to know, like, who is Titilope Adedokun? You
Exactly.
mentioned that you're in school now. So, I'd just like to know about yourself, your background,
Yeah.
what you're doing right now, and yeah.
Thank you so much, Zulu. So let me just put this out there. I have a cold and cough, so just that may affect my voice. But yeah, so who is Titilope Adedokun?
Sorry.
That's a very good question. Thank you, Zulu. That's a very good question. So yeah, I'm very passionate about equality. I'm very passionate about telling authentic stories of women. And I'm also very passionate about connecting women and young people to opportunities and resources. And I feel like there is a massive gap when it comes to information, access to information, and access to opportunities and resources, not just for women, but pretty much everybody in Nigeria. And so for me, being able to live that, live my life, bridging that gap is really what gets me going. So, but beyond my passions, I'm also a student. I'm actually rounding up my law degree, should be done by September, by the grace of God. Yeah, and I'm very, at this
Nice.
moment, I'm also very passionate about social impact within the tech space. And I'm currently actually pursuing and exploring a career in that field. So all of my passions and everything that I've been through, so from being from from being raised in a family where, I was surrounded by women, my sisters, my mom, and, even going to secondary school, university, all of these things have led me to who I am today. And I think that, I'd like to think that they all led me to create Sisterly HQ, which, I mean,
Mhm.
you've spoken about just a few moments ago. Sisterly HQ is basically that platform, that safe space, that community that helps women to be the best version of themselves. So we do this, by telling the stories, authentic stories of Nigerian women, and also by connecting women to opportunities and resources. So yeah, so that's pretty much who I am in a nutshell. As I said earlier, I'm very passionate about equality. I'm also very passionate about baking shows. So it's not just all it's not just all serious, saving the world kind of thing. When it comes to me, I love a good
Yeah.
competitive baking show. And I love to have great conversations like this. I'm the kind of person that believes that conversations can solve any problem, just because I know how much I have gained from conversations, and I know how much I give in conversations as well. So I think that conversations are a beautiful thing. And once again, I'm very honored to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you so much, Titi, for that very detailed about you section of this
Thank
interview. I
you.
feel like you told us, like, you've covered like most of the questions that I planned on asking,
Hmm.
which is great. You've told us about yourself, about Sisterly HQ, and just to mention, I agree that you are one of the best people to have like conversations with, because I feel like when you go into a conversation with Titi, you come out like learning something new about yourself, about your work, just about life
Oh,
generally.
that's
I
so
think she's
sweet.
very good at like giving advice, but also taking advice too, and just
Mhm.
whether it's about like career, work, or even just life or just normal gist, I think you're really good at conversations. And I totally agree that a conversation can definitely solve like most problems, which is why I'm happy
Mhm.
to have this conversation with you today. I want people to learn more about you, about the work that Sisterly HQ is doing, and about you personally, because Titi is a rock star. Uh, Sisterly HQ aside, she has achieved so much and she's very inspiring. Like right now, she's a LinkedIn top voice. She's won so many awards. Like she even wrote a LinkedIn post once about how most of her friends see her as like, I don't know if you said you were like a perpetual winner. I don't remember the phrase you used, but honestly, I
Yeah.
agree because I guess like the perception of like a person. You see the person winning, 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 but the person has actually done like a lot of work in the
Mhm.
background. So yeah, I think again, check out
Thank
Titilope
you
on
so much,
LinkedIn. Shameless
Lou.
plug. But yeah, like I said, you've answered my question about like sisterly hate. No problem, Titi. You've answered my question about Sisterly HQ. I was going to ask you how you started it, and the goal, like the mission and vision of Sisterly HQ. And I guess I already know like why it was so important for you to start Sisterly HQ because you wanted to like tell the authentic stories of Nigerian women. But I remember you told me a story once about another reason why you started Sisterly HQ. I don't know if you want to speak about it. About how you there was a website I think both of us used to
Yeah.
read. I think you sent me
So
articles on it on the website and I got hooked and I still like
yeah.
check out the website for today. I don't remember the name of the website actually, but you said that like oh, I don't know if you want you could continue from here. Let me not
Yeah, let me
derail the
just yeah,
story.
that's fine. Let me just jump in. Yeah. Thank you so much, Zulu. That was a great background, and thank you so much for all the accolades and all the my head was just like swelling and everything. So thank you. So yeah, I mean, for me, the journey to study HQ, I started to study HQ in 2021, but the journey really began way before then. So I love to read, gosh, ever since when I was little. I think I read my first full length novel when I was like in primary six, Mary's Christmas. Probably not a book I should have been reading at that age, right? But I read it and it was very long, like 700
Wow.
pages. I've always really loved, just reading and, just I've always loved reading and just, just soaking up information. And, growing when I was a bit older, like I think I can't remember when exactly I started reading this website. I can't remember the age, but a few years back, I started to read this website, which was dedicated to just telling the stories of American, at least women in the diaspora, so mostly American or British women. And these stories were told from such a rich and original perspective. And I love that they were telling the stories that nobody was necessarily talking about. So they were talking about money, something that I had not really seen other people talk about, from a female, from a woman's perspective. They were talking about relationships, they were talking about politics, and it was so interesting and so exciting. And the great thing was I could read these things and I could relate in some way, right? But I couldn't relate all the way through because the story, like I mean, we all have, being being all human beings, we all have lived and shared experiences. But the fact is that our backgrounds, our where we live, where we grew up in, the community that we're raised, our country, these things will make our experiences different. So to that extent, I wasn't able to relate to it all the way through. So while it was amazing and I could learn, and I've learned so many things about, other places that are outside Nigeria and Africa, I still had that yearning and that longing to be able to read these things through the perspective and the eye of an African or a Nigerian woman. So for me, that I think that really started to rush, and I was like, oh wow, I'm very interested. Like, someone at that time, I didn't know it was me, but I used to think like someone should, create something like this for Nigerian women. So I would say that that was, the first thing that probably jolted me to think, okay, something like Sisterly HU needs to exist. However, at the time, I didn't know that I was the one that was supposed to create it. But I just, the way like we all think, somebody, the way we always think, "Okay, somebody should do
Yeah.
this, someone should solve this problem, right?" But at the time, I didn't know that I was the one to I was the one that would solve the problem. So that aside, right? So I would say that the next experience that I had in terms of, creating Sisterly History was in 2018. So I worked with my faculty. So I went to University of Lagos, Faculty of Law, which you also did as well. Woo. So
Yeah.
I was in a committee that worked together that worked on a book that told the stories of Nigerian women, and also told the stories as past struggles and successes. And it was such a profound experience for me because I got to go around Lagos interviewing some of the best, some of the most amazing women that Nigeria has to offer. And it's so crazy that these women have achieved so much. And that experience was very inspiring to me. But it also made me realize that, oh my god, these women are phenomenal. But like, nobody was telling their stories, you know, nobody was telling their stories, or nobody is telling their stories. So in my mind, I was like, okay, if nobody is telling the stories of these amazing, phenomenal women, rather, who is gonna be telling the stories of regular old me and regular old you, and just every average Nigerian woman that is just trying to make the best of of the things that they have. So that was like the second experience that was like, okay, you know what, someone has to do something about this again. You would think that would be like, okay, Titilope has to do something about that, but no, I kept saying somebody, and I didn't think the person was going to be me. Me, I sure knew that somebody should
Hmm.
do something about it, and that's the person's business. Me, I was like, I was just thinking about it, right?
It needs to be done.
Then the
Yeah.
the third experience, I would now say, really the third experience I will now say that really hit the hammer on the head for me, really, was in 2019, I think. Yeah, 2019, if I'm not wrong. I participated in a Wikipedia editathon with African Women on Board, which is like an NGO that's dedicated to like gender equality and women empowerment. And what did we do in the whole, like, in the editathon, right? We just sat down and we created Wikipedia pages for prominent Nigerian women, and I got to like actually like do that research and find out about these women so that I would be able to tell their stories on Wikipedia, and allow more women and even just anybody to see their stories and the history, their history, her story rather,
Nice.
on the Wikipedia website. And for me, that really made me understand that, again, women are doing phenomenal things in Nigeria and even all over the world. But who is telling those stories? And again, it came to me as per these women that I'm even writing about, these are women that are very accomplished. These are women that I even knew their names. If somebody told me that some of these women that I wrote, I wrote that Wikipedia pages, or I contributed to the writing of that Wikipedia pages, didn't have a Wikipedia page before, I'll be like, it's a lie. They should have. So in my mind, it was like, okay,
Right?
if these women don't even have anybody or many people telling their stories, then again, who is telling the stories of regular people like me and you and every other, most women in Nigeria? So then, it really dawned on me that someone, and then I started to think maybe me could do something about it. And so for the longest time, right, I had the idea for Cicely HU. I didn't know it was going to be Cicely HU at the time, but it was, I had so many things that were going on with my life. I had so many things on my hands. I still do, right? But I didn't, I don't know whether I was cold feet or maybe because I just felt like I had a lot on my plate. I just didn't think it was the right time to start anything. Or maybe I did not think I was equipped. But I would say that the breakthrough really came in 2021 last year, and I participated. So I did this coaching program with Aya Chibi. You know of her, and it was such a transformative experience for me when it comes to my activism. I got to learn that I have what it takes, and all I need is me. And of course, with the support of my amazing friends and family, of which you're one. And and I can do this thing. Like, I can be the change that I want to see. I wish, it's not as easy as I am saying it now, because obviously I had to fight. I had I had to fight some battles in my head. So the imposter syndrome, or the fact that, oh my god, hey, I'm just a university students at the time. And one thing I said this yesterday in a conversation, in a call with someone, that when I started to study HQ, thinking, looking back, it was like the wrongest time. I couldn't have started to study HQ at a worst time, because it was like 1 month or so to my final exams in the university. I think I was in the process of applying, or I had just applied to law school, meaning that I knew that
Yeah.
there was a chance I would be starting law school in like 2-3 months. Like, it was just like the wrongest time. But I feel like I didn't feel ready. I don't ever feel ready for things like that, but I just decided to do it. And I will still allude to the fact that I have the best village around me. I call them my village. I have the best family. I have the best friends. I have the best support. And my people always show up for me. And even with starting to study history, people showed up for me abundantly, and it was just amazing. So yeah. So for me, starting to study HQ, I had an idea. I had a dream, but it was not as straightforward as it may seem from afar. It was just really a journey of learning and unlearning, and a journey of doing it afraid, because I was scared. I still am very scared, sometimes. But it was a journey of just doing it and knowing that I have what it takes to do this, and I also have the support and the resources that I need to do it. So that's it in a nutshell.
You said so much, and I think like there's so many questions I want to ask, but I'll just start off with like some things you said. I want to point some things out about how you kept saying that, oh, you think that this problem needs to
Yeah.
be solved, you think it needs to be solved, but you were like, okay, someone else will deal with it. And honestly, that's like sort of, I feel like that is the, I wouldn't say issue, but the mindset of many people about how they will be like, okay, no, like I know
Yeah.
that this is an issue that needs to be solved. I know that it is necessary to fill this gap, but I'll just wait for someone else to do it. And I think
Hmm.
that is something that honestly brings a lot of people down when they don't, because that comes from a place of not really believing in yourself or believing that you can achieve something. You just keep pushing it on to someone else
Yeah.
to handle it. And I hope that for people listening, they learn from your story of how you didn't believe that you'd be able to, not that you didn't believe, but you didn't really think that you would be the one to solve the problem, but you knew that there was a problem, but you just started. And I
Yeah.
think that that was amazing. And you also said that you
Hmm.
started at the wrong time. You had this dream and everything, but like if you hadn't started, first of all, we wouldn't have Sisterly HQ, we wouldn't have this community. But apart from that, you started at seemingly the wrong time, but you are thriving right now and you just pushed through. And I love that.
Hmm.
Uh, and you mentioned something about
Hmm.
your village. And I love, again, I'm saying I love that, I love that, I love that. But I actually really do like I relate a lot to a lot of the things that you said, and personally, I have, as you described them, a village around me too. Mostly women. Shout out to all the women in the world,
Yes. Shout
but
out.
mostly women. And I think that that is so important to have just like a community of people who can push you on to just do things. Like when you feel down, you know that you can talk to this person and they
Mhm.
will, I guess, sort of hype you up. So like having your own personal hype squad, and I think that that's great. And
Yeah.
I know that you are very passionate about building a community, even from your LinkedIn. But like, do you have any advice for any young person who maybe they feel alone right now, or they want to have like a
Yeah.
community or a group of people who they can
Mhm.
quote unquote run to, or who they can even share ideas with, discuss with, get a boost of energy from, and all of that?
Thank you so much, Zulu. And I think that this is something that everybody struggles with. So even, I mean, you'd be surprised to know that even with the fact that I have my village, right? There have been times where I have felt alone, times where I have felt lonely. So even I feel like just even having a village doesn't mean that there are times where you wouldn't. I mean, not necessarily feel lonely or alone. These bouts may come once in a while. But you know what? I would say the first step, something that helps me or something that's helped me, in generally finding my village will just be, first of all, opening up. I think, when we're able to share our successes, when we're able to share our struggles, when we're able to share where we are at in life, then we can find people with similar experiences and then we form these bonds. Because for me, a lot of people, except like obviously my family, right? Everybody else who I, come to think of as my village are people that I've probably had like shared experiences with, or people that I've had like, conversations with. And it's from opening up and actually going out to, speak my truth and just existing loudly in a way, that way I was able to find them out pretty much, and they were able to find me out as well. So there's a lot of reward in being yourself. First of all, there's also a lot of reward in sharing the way that, like, being open with your feelings, being open with your struggles, being open with your successes. Because the truth is, for if you're trying to build that type of community, you're most likely going to, like, people are drawn to people that they have similar or shared experiences with. So if you think, like, anybody can think about this, if you think about your your group of people, you have something in common. And how will you know that you have this thing in common except like you share these experiences, or you share these similarities or struggles or success or whatever. So there's a lot of joy in opening up and sharing these things. And coming
Yeah.
from Nigeria, where we are taught, for most of us, like, I think that's maybe like 80% of the population we're taught rather to do life alone and to be hush hush about everything. And in a way, I get it, right? Village people. But I believe that there's still a lot of reward in, just being opening up and, sharing these experiences, sharing these, struggles, sharing these successes, and telling your story. Because sometimes when you take that first step, then people will look at you and say, wow, I can relate to that. And then from there, you find a community. And then the second thing I would just emphasize is that if you want a community, if you want a village, be prepared to give the energy that you want to receive. So you cannot expect that you will have people that will rally around you if you are not going to rally around any. It
Yes.
doesn't work that way.
Absolutely.
This is life, man. And it's not even like, I mean, I don't even want to. I'm not commodifying this and saying life is give and take or whatever. No, it's just simple. It's just simple. I don't even know. I don't say it's just simple life. Like, you need to give value to people so that you also will receive value. So I remember 2 months ago, so I was having a conversation with my mentor, because again, I said.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And like, again, I said that, sometimes I struggle with even being alone or feeling lonely, even though I have my village. And I was having a conversation with my mentor. And I mean, you'd be surprised to know this, but one of the things I struggle with a lot is, even with my village, I still struggle with opening up sometimes and, sharing my experiences and my baggage sometimes, right? But one thing that she made me realize was, she said, She said,
Yeah.
you're willing to take people's baggage. You're willing to listen to your village's baggage. So you should know that you're deserving of having someone also listen to your struggles and, take your baggage as well. So I think that, if you want to have that community, that village, you want them to be your day ones, then you too, you have to be their day ones. That's how life is. You need to be able to give the energy that you want to receive. So you want close friends, you want
Very true.
loyal friends, you want people
Mm-hmm.
that will be with you thick and thin. Then you too, you have to be loyal. You have to be there through thick and thin. You want people to encourage you, then you encourage others as well. Like, I feel like that's really, that's the vibe, that's the cycle of life, really. So you have to be there for people as much as you want them to be there for you. And then, I feel like this is very similar to what I said at first about, just existing loudly and sharing those experiences. But don't be scared to ask for support and for help. I think that a lot of times we are doing life alone because we are not asking for any other thing. And so there's a lot of reward in actually opening up and, asking people in your life and saying, this is what I need right now, this is the kind of support I need, this is type of things I want. Like, you can actually, like, you can open your mouth and actually ask for your support. You can open your mouth and ask for help. You can open your mouth and ask for community. Like, I feel like a lot of times especially when it comes to like the African Nigerian context, we're all thinking, like, can I
Yes.
go online and really say, oh, I'm looking for friends that are going to do this or that? Or I'm like, you absolutely can. Like, you can do that. Like, let me give you context. Like, I'm currently in a close
Mm-hmm.
community where it's like a kind of networking community. And the idea is, young, women and young people, coming together to sort of meet each other every week and network, and everybody that is there is looking for network. We're all looking for community, we're all looking for friends. Like, there's no being shy in this thing. Ask for what you want. Everybody's an adult. Like, most people, like, I mean, even if you're not an adult, right, everybody's a person. And we are at that stage in our lives. If you want something, you ask for
Yeah.
it. So there's to me, I don't think, if you're looking for a community, I don't see the big deal of, for example, going to socials and even saying that, I'm looking for someone who's going to do this. Or you yourself, instead of, maybe if not even asking outrightly and saying, I'm looking for this, you can actually search for those communities. Get your research on. Like, you can sit down and actually Google and find something. Like, for example,
Yeah.
if you like, for example, something that comes to mind is, like, for example, I know small groups. I mean, I'm a Christian, so I will give that type of example, right? So there is like small groups when it comes to like churches, and that could actually be a way to find your community. You actually taking that step to join a small group in church, and from there you can meet friends that are going to be with you through thick and thin. You can join a club that maybe you like to sing. You can join a singing club. Like, there's so many
Yeah.
things that you can do to find that community. So just give a little bit of summary, right? So the first thing is to exist loudly. You have to exist loudly, right? You have to share your experiences. You have to tell your story so that people who have the similar experiences
Yeah.
with you can
Yeah.
feel you and relate. Then number two, you have to give value if you want to receive value. It's not just about take, 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 take. You want to have good friends, you need to be a good friend. So number three, of course, you have to ask for what you want. So you have to sometimes go out and get it, whether by asking, but whether by doing the research, whether by being the one to say hello first. Sometimes you have to make that move. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you for those tips, Titi. They're actually very, very helpful. I feel like I've learned a lot as well because personally, I'm pretty reserved and I don't know if I'll describe myself as shy. I guess maybe to
Yeah.
some extent, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one to just go out there and put myself out there unless I think, okay, I've thought it through. I'm a private person. But I feel like you are the definition of existing loudly. Like if you have an issue, you say you talk about it, and if you have something that you feel like other people will be interested in, you speak out about it. You just put yourself out there. And I think that that's also very important. Even if you are shy, even if you are reserved, you should definitely put yourself out there, share your experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And that's again something that you really do on LinkedIn a lot. You share your experiences, you ask people what they think,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so important. And yes, I hope that people listening honestly take your tips to heart and try to apply them in their lives as well. So I have so many questions because as you were speaking, I was like writing stuff down and things like that. And I guess I guess we can segue back into Sisterly HQ. And just about you mentioned something earlier, I think in the question before the last question um about how you
Mm-hmm.
learned and unlearned a lot of things. And there were many issues that you had, but you were able to,
Yeah.
like, I guess, get up from it and just try to do better. And
Mm-hmm.
that brings me like to my next question about Sisterly HQ and like what you think your biggest
Mm-hmm.
setback or failure or regret is about Sisterly HQ. Well, we don't do regrets here, Sha. So what you feel like your biggest lesson? Yeah, let's say lesson, let's not say regret. What your biggest lesson was,
Actually,
and or like what advice you wish you had known before you started Sisterly or when you started Sisterly HQ.
that's a really good question. So I mean, you said it's all right. We don't do regrets here. So I think that sisterly, everything that has happened for Sisterly HQ, for the last 10 months has been a journey. So for me, even though there are some things I wish I didn't do and some things that I wish I did. I do not necessarily regret any of them because I feel like they were important for us to get to the phase that and the season that we are now in. So that's just putting that out there at first. So in terms of like the struggles, the things that the sort of things I feel like I could have done better right from the beginning. I think that at the beginning, because I was coming very off from the struggle of whether or not I even wanted to start it, being a wrong time, all of that. I felt like I could have maybe worked with people a bit better. I could have prioritized
Mm-hmm.
collaboration very early. Cause I did have, so the truth is I did have a team that I
Yeah.
was working with from the beginning because and most of them were actually people that I knew closely. And I'm again going to say shout out to my village and shout out to my people because I remember starting to study HQ and I put it on my status and I'm like, you guys, I'm doing this thing. Are you interested? Like, if you want to join, text me. And I had like 10, 15 people text me and it was amazing, right? But even with that, even at that, and even with that, I felt like it would have been really great if I did not necessarily try to like carry everything on my back and try to do everything alone in that aspect in that way. Yeah, I wish I prioritized collaboration. And funny how like the whole collaboration had to come as a necessity. It was more of like a necessity of me, really centralizing collaboration. It was much more it came out more as a necessity for me than even, oh, okay, I kind
Mm-hmm.
of I don't know if I planned it, but at some point because I had to go to school and I knew that gosh, like I knew that I didn't want to study history to suffer, so knew I needed to like start thinking about the next phase, which was how I could actually have other people help out so that with my crazy schedule with school, to study history won't suffer. So I wish maybe it would have been great to probably have that mindset from the onset and have that collaboration in mind, before until it
Mm-hmm.
was necessary for me to get to that point. But then again, I do not regret anything because as I said yesterday, actually I had a call with someone yesterday, and I was telling the person, and I said, um, I feel like Society HQ needed to pass through that first phase for it to get to its second phase. So I feel like if there was no first
Mm-hmm.
phase, there was no that first phase
Yeah.
of maybe me trying to like do everything together because almost that time I was lead, I was lead editor, I was lead social media, I was lead OR, I was graphic designer, I was everything. If I wasn't, I feel like I needed to go through that phase to get Society HQ to the point that that it is now, because the
To
truth
get
is,
to
even
where
at the
you are
time,
now.
right now we have, now we work with volunteers. Exactly. Now we work with volunteers that I don't even generally, I didn't know before they started working with Sisterly HQ. At first, when Sisterly HQ started, everybody that was working with us, everybody was someone that I've had a personal relationship with, whether from school, from somewhere else, something else. I'd like worked with other
Yeah.
people. I've worked with them on other projects before. But like I feel like the truth is at that time, if I'd gone online, imagine LinkedIn or Instagram and say, okay, I have this idea, oh, come and be a volunteer. Nobody will answer me except like the ones that eventually answer me from like my family and my friends. So at the end of the day, I feel like we needed to have that
Yeah.
first phase. And I'm beyond capital be grateful to everybody who was part of that process and even who is still part of that process up till today. So I know that we needed to go through that phase. I mean, beyond that, I would say the other issues that,
Yeah.
generally you would have with any non-profit organization is funding. So that's always a big one. The fact that, applying for grants, and then because you're like less than
Mm-hmm.
1 year old, people will be asking proof of concept, like, I want to see you do this for 2 years, for 1 year. And then, one thing I have noticed, right, which is a bit sad, is when it comes to the grant making space. And I mean, is this controversial? I hope not. So when it comes to grant, I've realized that sometimes, I mean, I appreciate that people, a lot of grants that I have been finding, right, have been grants that want you, that wants to give you money to start something else, to start a new idea. And that's not necessarily bad, but sometimes it's just like, I already have something that is great, something that's already going. Can't you give me money to like continue to work on it and make it even
Yeah.
better? So that's, sometimes you have those financing struggles when it comes to like, gosh, I don't want to, like, I mean, we don't need to create a new idea. Let's run with what we have. So that would, I would say, could, be another struggle. And then generally, I know, like, with working with, multiple people on a team, 40 plus people, there's always, those type of struggles. But again, I would say, like, I have the best team. I mean, we try to
Mm-hmm.
have a great, I mean, a workable structure in place. But and we try to keep in mind that everybody that works on the team is a
Yeah.
volunteer. And so we're very serious about ensuring that, we are not wasting anybody's time. Nobody's doing more than, what they can handle. We're very keen on all of that. But I feel like he can only go better
Mm-hmm.
and better. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you said that you are glad that Sisterly HQ went through all those struggles, because I was part of like the, I don't know if it was the first set of people like when you started Sisterly HQ, and it was, it's so great to
Yeah.
see how it has grown and how it has refined and how it has become this new amazing thing. And I'm so glad that I'm a part of it and I've gotten a chance to see all that Sisterly HQ has gone through, the changes it has gone through to be this like powerhouse community of women that are sharing opportunities for women, that are writing stories about Nigerian women. And I think it's great. I guess you also answered like the second question I wanted to ask, which was like about how you handled those um quote unquote lessons or setbacks. But I also want to know like what you think your biggest success has been
Yeah.
concerning like Sisterly HQ. What is one thing that you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, like wow, we did that or I did that.
So when it comes to study HQ, I think for me the better adjective, I mean, it's not adjective, pronoun. Yes, it's we did that. So because I mean, I always say this to my team members, like, you guys are study HQ, honestly. So yes, I came up with the idea and all of that, but you guys are the heart and soul of study HQ. So for me, the
Mm,
biggest success of study HQ, honestly, is the fact that we are able to impact people positively. So I mean, I will not give out any names, right? But I've received messages from, like, I've gotten like DMs. We, for example, let me give you a perfect example. So I think last year we did like a post on what to do in Nigeria when your private photos are leaked. And I've had a lot of people, a lot of women message us via LinkedIn, sorry,
yeah.
via Instagram, with distress messages and saying, sorry, this is what is happening, this is what's happening, what can I do? And we've actually been able to connect them with like lawyers. We've given them tips from the website. We should, send them resources of things that they could actually practically do in those situations.
Mm,
And I remember there was a day where a friend texted me, and she texted me that something similar had happened to someone, and this even went further. I think it was a rape case, and there was also the person threatening to leak her private photos. And she was like, she was able to send her resources from our website so that she could handle it. And I mean, I followed through, so I know that it got escalated to like the police and all of that. And it's mind blowing that we are able to actually make that type of impact. And this is one thing I always tell my team, that they should never forget that all the work that they do, because sometimes it can seem abstract now to write an article, write something and post it on social media, and you're wondering, is it really doing anything? But the feedback that we get
Yeah, you
from
won't think that
everything
it
that
could
we
hack.
do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Like the feedback that we get from everything that we do is mind blowing. Like, I mean, we've had like posts put up, and even people that don't like, it's so mind blowing because even non-Nigerian women are even resonating with some of these things. I remember there was an article that we made, and people were like, "Oh my god!" Like, I have never found like
Mm-hmm.
someone that was thinking the exact thing that I was thinking. Like, I thought I was crazy, but like reading this article, I know that it's not just me that is dealing with this thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
for me, that's like enough. Just that impact, just knowing that we're actually making a difference, that we're able to help one person at least. For me, it's everything. And even with like our opportunities and resources as well, it's mind blowing to see like women applying for these opportunities, off our social media, off our website, people saying I went for this job, or now I'm equipped with, this information to apply for this scholarship. And we even did this our scholarship. We did this thing 3 months ago in April. We did this opportunities for women scholarships event where we had like three amazing, fantastic women
Yeah.
come to share their scholarship stories. And we actually had people that had been looking for this type of information. We had it direct to them at their fingertips. So it was just mind blowing for me, really. And I would say, I think I feel like I've I've spent too much time on just, it's supposed to be one thing, but yeah, you just have to manage me like that. So yeah, I would say the last thing for me is the fact that we've been able to collaborate. So just the fact that, I mean, we've had impact outside, but we've also had rather impact internally. So the other week, I mean last week or so, I jumped on calls with some of team members just to check up on people, and it's just amazing to see that we've actually been able to make impact in house as well. I spoke with another person yesterday, the whole day yesterday, not all day actually, like an hour or so yesterday, just about, starting our own initiative on mental health. It's amazing to see the kind of change that we're making in house within our own team as well. And, the beauty of collaboration and, even empowering the women that work with us in house. So for me, it's just a mixture of everything. So our external impact and our internal impact. And it's just like so beautiful for me to see. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're right. Like, this also shows that even if like something you're doing is seemingly small, that you are affecting people, and even if you just affect one person and help one person, that is enough. So, but of course, Sisterly is growing and continues to grow and is affecting more and more people, and that's amazing. And recently, we hit,
Yeah.
or you hit, well, yeah, we hit, as Sister hit, you hit 20,000 views. Woo! Congratulations, first of all. And like, I
Thank
love that
you.
many people are being, yes, more people are like reading about Sisterly HQ and being impacted by the articles, the opportunities column, and all of that. But like, what are your plans for like Sisterly HQ's future? What do you want Sisterly HQ, first of all, what do you want Sisterly HQ to achieve in the future? Like, what are your goals for it? And of course, what are your future plans as well for Sisterly HQ?
Yeah, these are really good questions. So yeah, thank you so much. Yes, we hit 20K, actually 21K. So that's very exciting. Shout out to everybody who supports us, and of course you as well. So yeah, in terms of the future of Sister HQ, I mean, I am a type A individual, so you can bet that I have, some 5-year, 10-year plans and all of that. But for me, as long as Sisterly HU is being true to its mission, which is two things, right? To tell the authentic stories of women and to connect women to opportunities and resources that help them to be the best version of themselves, I'm good. So our goal is by 2030, we want to be able to reach 20% of young Nigerian women that are obviously on the internet, just because that's like really our target audience. And it's a journey, and we're going there. We're going,
Hmm.
we're going, we're going, we're going. But that's really the end goal for us. And I'm really excited to see how that unfolds. One thing that I've learned just being a founder or working with something as amazing as Sisterly HQ and the people that we work with, and the people that are being impacted by it, is I've learned also the value of being flexible. Because I've realized that starting anything is one thing, but growing it and ensuring that, I mean, growing it is something else entirely. I mean, I always say this thing that at some point you realize that what you've created is bigger than yourself. And I think that it was it was this year, it's 2022, that I really realized that Cicely HU is going to be way bigger than I can ever fathom. It's going to be bigger than me. It's going to be bigger than anything I could have imagined that I wanted it to be. And that's 100, like, I'm here for that. So I think that, having plans and all of these things are great, but there's also the place for flexibility and understanding that, as you grow older, as your organization, makes more impact, as you work with more people, as things open up, as more ideas come, there's also the chance that you will be flexible, and your organization will also, be in different seasons. So I personally think that Sister DHU has gone through 2 seasons. And I mean, I can say for a fact that I know that we're going to be entering a new season very soon. I don't have all the ideas of what exactly that would look like, but I definitely know, just because that's life, and things evolve, and as long as we're making that impact. But definitely the numbers, the goals, not the numbers, the goal is to ensure that we reach 20% of young Nigerian women on the internet by 2030. So yeah.
I love that. And I feel like you will definitely achieve that goal. Like, obviously, slowly but surely, it's not even slowly, to be honest. Surely, like, you're getting there, and who knows, you might even hit it before 2030.
Yes,
Yes.
fingers
Yeah.
crossed.
Yes, hopefully. Like, I'm rooting for you. Of course, I'm on the team, so I'm rooting for us, for the Sisterly HQ team. And yeah, I know that like you're going to do amazing things, but I love how you said that
Yay.
you can plan, but honestly, you can't really plan because you never know like what could come up. You have
Mm-hmm,
an idea, but
mm-hmm,
like again, like I said, you could hit that 20% of Nigerian women before 2030, and then you have to
exactly.
rethink your goals. And yeah, I'm just happy that you started this this project. And
Yeah.
you said so many like
Mm-hmm.
useful things. You've I've learned so much about Sisterly HQ, about how it started, because some of the stories that you mentioned, some of the things that you mentioned, I knew, but I didn't know about like other things about what really pushed you to start Sisterly HQ. But let's apart from Sisterly HQ, you also like talked a lot about yourself,
Mm-hmm.
about how like all the things you've achieved and all the when you were talking about Sisterly HQ, about how you got to that point, you were just mentioning things and about the Wikipedia thing that you did. I don't remember what you called it. Um, the books that you did in when you were in the University of
Wikipedia
Lagos.
Editathon.
Yes, yes, exactly. Wikipedia editathon. I did tathon. The Wikipedia thing, Sha. But I know that you do so much apart from Sisterly HQ, but I would also like to know like how you've balanced your time, or how you've been able to balance all the other tasks you do. And you're in law school, and I've been through law school, and I know it's not easy. Like people can tell you how law school is, right? But you wouldn't be able to like experience it fully till you are in it. Like
Sure,
someone can tell
sure.
you, "Oh, this is hard. Oh, this is hard." Like
Yeah.
when I got into law school, certain things that people tried to like, I don't know if they were trying to scare me, but people
Yeah.
said about how, oh, reading cases is hard and this and that. Oh no, one thing people said was doing drafts is extremely hard.
Mm-hmm.
And please, anybody that's in law school right now, please don't do what I did. I learned all my drafts like a week before exams, and I didn't forget them. And honestly, I still
Yeah.
remember them right now. So, like, everybody's story is different. But like, I would like to know how you are balancing like time with Sisterly
Mm-hmm.
HQ. I know you mentioned that you sort of taking yourself out of like the centralized role. Like people still know you're the founder and you still have like a say in many things. But how are you balancing your time with Sisterly HQ
Yeah.
and law school? And I know you're going to
Yeah.
Canada soon, Canada way. But like, how are you balancing that with all your other tasks? How? Oh, sorry, one more thing. And how different is life now after like starting Sisterly HQ?
So yeah, those are really good questions, my god. In terms of balancing study HQ and every other thing that I have right now, first of all is I would say the grace of God, just because I cannot, like, I don't even know how I do it on my own, because I don't even do it on my own. So the God factor is so important to me. God has always been so faithful to me in terms of the people that He gives, the people that He brings to me, the resources that He gives to me. God has just always been so faithful to me. So that's just like first and foremost. Then second thing I would say is I've learned to ask for support. And I still struggle with it sometimes, but I know that at least that one, at least I tried my best to really ask for support. For example, when I knew I was going to start this, I was going to go into law school. I knew, and I mentioned this earlier on, on this call, that I knew that I couldn't do it alone. I had to be realistic. I mean, I used to say that, oh my, if I say I wanted to do like Shakara and say I want to do it by myself, oh my god, totally hate would have died a long time ago. Because there was no way in high water that I would have been able to do it by myself. So I think just asking for support was very important. And putting systems in place, and then again, maybe it just goes to, like, again, I'm a type A individual. I like things done a certain way. I don't call myself a perfectionist, because I feel like that thing can be derogatory. I'm not a perfectionist, but I like things organized, and I like things done a certain way. And I think that that really helps me right now to keep a balance. The fact that with Society HU, I have put systems and structures in place to ensure that I'm still on top of things. So for example, having a monthly call, with my leads every month, just to ensure that at least I know what's going on, I know what's happening. Having automated systems on Slack that would cut out some of the things that I had to do, or some of the things that even some of my other team members have to do. So yeah, shout out to Zapier, shout out to If This Then That. Automate your systems and save yourself some time and stress. Then also I think that just knowing that you can't do anything alone really is just really what's going to help you. Just knowing that you can't do anything alone, and asking for help, asking for support, trying to find systems and tools. We live in a world where so many things have now become easier, because there's like so many tools, like your phone, your laptop, like there's so many apps that help. So one thing I've always said is, I know that, like, we all trust our brain to be very, our brain is amazing. Like, wow, our brain is a powerhouse for most, I mean, for everybody. But I would say that there's also that we need to be honest with ourselves and understand that we're still human. So, for example, some of the things I use to make sure that I don't forget, I use my notes app a lot. I use my calendar. Sorry, no, I use my calendar a lot. So I'm always like putting stuff in my calendar, like making sure that, so that I don't miss anything out. Because sometimes I know that if I don't put something in my calendar or more, I will forget. My alarms is my best friend. Focus mode is my best friend. So I try to use these tools. I'm not perfect, so I wish I was. I'm not perfect, but at least I use these tools that God has given me in terms of like my phone, my apps, and I try to make it work for me. Then also I know my limits as well. So there's always, I think, a lot of times, especially with people that are sort of high performing individuals or so, or high achieving individuals, we tend to take on a lot. And I'm sure that you can relate with that as well. Like, we'll take on the entire world sometimes, and that's not good. Sometimes we need to understand, and we need to learn how to say no. We need to know our limits. Like, I feel like I'm still learning how to do that, because even within law school, right? Sometimes I found myself in situations where I shouldn't be in, because I wish, like, I sometimes remember I was like, God, I wish I just told this people, no, I can help them to do this thing, because I've not. But I'm also, even with that, I'm learning to even tell people and say, no, please, I've done my own part. I'm not the only person that is in this group. I cannot kill my, like, I remember there was a day last term where I can't remember what happened, but I was pushed to my limits. Like, I was like, I'm a human being. Like, if I do anything more than this, I'll break down. So we need to be able to know our limits, and we need to be honest with our limits, and we also need to be vocal about our limits. Because when we have limits, well, it's in our heads, and we're still sucking up all the wahala and all the stress, then it's not doing anything for us. So know your limits, but also communicate your limits. So know when to tell people no. I know. I mean, before, like, I used to be someone who, and it still happens now, where, like, I can't say I won't say that I can't say no to anybody, but the truth is, I mean, if I can do something to help, I'm very likely to say, like, yes. But in the last like few months or so, I've learned to say no to people and tell people that I can't do this right now because I have had a lot of things to do today. I remember there was, oh my gosh, I remember like three like 2 months ago. No, actually in April, I think it was the day that we had the Sisterly History Opportunities for Women event. Then I was invited by an organization that is so dear to my heart, actually really, really dear to my heart, to do another thing for them that evening, like another like a chat with them or something on Twitter Spaces or something that evening. And typically, normal day, I would have said yes, but I just thought about it that sister, I mean, what time did we even start that Sisterly History event? From like 3 or 4 to like 6. Like you're busy, or like you're doing like an entire show for like 3 hours. Then you now want to come again by 8. Like, who are you? Like, what do you think you are? Do you want to break down? So I had to just very politely and just explain and say, this evening I'm doing this. I will not be able to do this. And one thing, and then I went a step further by actually now suggesting possible speakers. So I suggested one of my friends who I knew was even a fantastic person. She had so much experience in that field, when it comes to gender equality. A friend I actually met on LinkedIn, funny enough. And, they were able to reach out to her. I also told her that they were going to reach out to her. And they had a fantastic chat. And I didn't kill myself. And everybody was happy at the end of the day. So I think that when it comes to especially like type A individuals or even anybody generally, I think we need to debunk that mentality that if I don't kill myself or I don't do all these things and my plate is not so like my desk is not so full, like this life will not go on, and this thing will feel, it's a lie. It will go on. Like, honestly, I'm serious. Like, sometimes you think that you are, and I think I also have to learn. I also am learning it as well. Like, if I don't do this thing, then it's not going to work out, and it's going to be terrible. It's a lie. It's not going to be terrible, and if it's terrible, you'll be fine because that's how life is. So I think just knowing your limits and then communicating your limits, and not don't kid yourself that you are I mean, you are indispensable. No, no talk about that, but you don't have to carry all the struggles of the world on your back to show that you're efficient or anything. You can actually say no. You can delegate to other people. You can delegate to tools and apps, like I said earlier. These things are here for you to exist. And of course, don't forget, like, if you believe in God, there's like the G factor, the God factor is very important.
What you said about the importance of saying no, and that is something I preach about now, because I know that when I was in Unilag, every opportunity that will come my way, I'll say yes, even if it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
beneficial to me. And I know that I feel like
Mm-hmm.
it's so important to learn. Like, the power of no is just so important. The power of saying no, the power of knowing your limits, it's so necessary, because I feel like as young
Yeah.
people we feel like we need to take on many opportunities. And like, when you check out opportunities online and you see things that you'd like to apply for, you see that they have like an age limit and stuff like that. So I think that there's this pressure on us
Hmm.
to just try and
Yeah.
do everything that we can before it's quote unquote too
Yeah.
late. Like, before we lose all these opportunities. And even before I turned 24, like, I did something on LinkedIn, which I haven't finished, but I should probably get on that and finish that, about talking about like 24 lessons I've learned in life. And one of the lessons was definitely saying no, and just being confident enough to say, okay, this is not for me right now. And if the person that you are telling no to is
Mm-hmm.
upset, then honestly, low key, they don't really care about your well-being, because they should understand why you said no and all of that. So yeah, I think that that's definitely something important
Mm-hmm.
that you pointed out. And you also mentioned the importance of a team. People, I don't know, we've done MUNs before, Model United Nations. For people who don't
Yeah.
know, they're like a simulation of the United Nations conference where students and delegates come together,
Yeah.
represent countries. There's this high achieving trait that is in every Model United Nations person, that you, because even when you're in a committee, you're put into a committee and you're expected to like be diplomatic, but also make sure that your name is not added as a signatory on a resolution or a working paper. And you have to make sure that you can try and make sure that you're in more than one block, and make sure that
Yeah.
your solutions are heard and all of that. So
Mm-hmm.
there's this mentality that you just have to be the best and you just have to do things on your own. And again, in Model United Nations, it's a bit toxic. I know not every MUN is like this, but I have attended
Can
some in
be.
the past
Can be
where
toxic.
you have to make sure that, because there were situations where like maybe a delegate will remove your name from a working paper and you worked on that working paper. So
Mm-hmm.
there's also this like me complex where like you have to fight for yourself, or like my mom always
Yeah.
says, you have to fight for your shirt. So I like how you said also the importance of having a team and delegating stuff,
Yeah.
and you will still be the founder of the thing. Nobody is going to take your glory away, but it is
Mm-hmm.
important that
Yep.
you again automate stuff, delegate stuff, and learn how to give a task to
Mm-hmm.
someone else.
Yep.
And you've done a lot of that, and you are still known as the founder of Sisterly HQ. So I guess that that's something important for every person that is also starting a social impact project, or it doesn't have to be a social impact project, just starting something off, that it's okay to delegate, especially if it's someone you trust. I'm not saying give your task to just anybody, but like
Exactly.
someone you trust at least. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's really
Yeah.
important. We're almost done, Titi, so don't
Perfect.
worry. I know like this seems like it's getting long, but I just want to make sure that we cover all our bases.
Absolutely.
And I know you have so much
Yeah,
knowledge
that's
to give.
fine.
So so yeah, I just want to make sure. Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's fine.
yeah. So as you might know, Kurerie means change. It's a word in my language, Isoko language in Nigeria. It means change. Makurerie, which
Mm-hmm.
is usually the full version of it, means let us change or let us make a change.
Yeah.
But I'd like to know, like, what does change mean to you?
Wow, that's a very, very deep question. That's so deep. What does change mean to me? There are some words that they don't have definition because they mean so much to different people, and they're so vast, and it's just like, how can you begin to explain what this means? But I like that that you said, what does change mean to me as a person? So I'll try to look at this through the lens or perspective of my life, and what role change has played in my life, and what role I have played with change. So I think that change to me is very, similar or synonymous with impact. So I think that, to have impact, you must make change, and to make change, you have to like make an impact. So to me, it's just doing something that is bigger than yourself, and something that is positively influencing others in some way or the other. So for me, that is change. So whether that means you're affecting one person, you're positively influencing one person or 1 million people. I mean, to me, that's change. Our world is very skewed to the big things, and we tend to think that if I'm not impacting, if I don't have 20K views, for example, or I'm not giving away $1,000, then what type of change is that, right? But I'm someone who thinks that change is the little things. It's